Hi and welcome to this week's show. This week we're reviewing Room and The Wolfpack with my guests Jack Allum-Gruselle and Niamh Sauter-Cooke. So I think it's best to open with Room. So guys, what did you think?
It was really great. It was really incredible. I mean, there's almost so little to say about it.
It's definitely the best film I've seen from last year. I mean, it's brilliant performances all round. Like Brie Larson is amazing. Jacob Tremblay is the best child actor I've ever seen, and just everything about it was brilliantly done.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of Oscars, I would definitely think that Brie Larson would be at the front of the queue. I'd quite like it to win Best Film as well, although I don't think it will. Talking more specifically about the film, the whole film is from the child's perspective. If you don't know the plot, it's about a mother and child who are basically imprisoned in a garden shed of their captor. The child has been born in this room, and the mother teaches the child that the only thing that exists is room, and crucially the title of the film is Room, Not the Room, which I keep getting mistaken.
Abramson adapted this from a book by Emma Donoghue, which you've read. I mean, how do you think it compares with the book?
I think it does an amazing job actually, because the book is written from the perspective of the child, and it's written extremely accurately, or it feels like I have younger relatives who are sort of around that age, and it definitely feels like they are the ones sort of narrating this. And it's interesting that a film is able to portray that, and I think that's Jacob Tremblay's acting skills that really make that, because it could so easily have been a film about the mother or about sort of the situation in general, but yet the film retains that sense of being from the perspective of the child. I mean, crucially, we have to tell the viewers they get out of room. Halfway through the film, they escape due to the child playing dead and being carried out as a corpse by old Nick and escaping, running away.
One of the coolest scenes in the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the bit that really struck me, like we talked about before, was the bit where he rolls out of this rug that he's in the truck to escape, and before he can do anything, he just looks up at the sky, which he's seen for the first time, and there's quite a poignant moment where he's just sort of staring at the sky for sort of 5 seconds, which I thought was very affecting.
I thought that was very well done, because it almost, you felt he was seeing this for the first time, and yet the camera couldn't dwell on it because there was a sense of danger. He had to get out. Yeah. He was in this place where he couldn't spend the time to absorb these new sort of sensations, and it's almost like a lot of scenes in real life where so much is going on that you're not able to process the emotional impact of things that happen to you. I thought that was really, really well captured.
Definitely. I think, because one of the things that the director said was that the characters of the grandma and the granddad are both played by very big actors, Joan Allen and William H. Macy, and the director said that he wanted to have big sort of, starring names in those roles, because it sort of signals to the viewer that the trauma isn't over, and this is, as much of an emotionally affecting half as the first half.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how good Room is, but what didn't you like? What could they have done better? It's a perfect film. It's great. Go see it.
Well, it took me a while to get into it. I don't know if but maybe that is good that I wasn't invested in it straight away. I mean, I thought for the first 15 minutes or so, I was sitting there thinking, intellectually, this is a really interesting concept. I'm engaging with this sort of on an intellectual level. Like, I think it's a really good idea for a film, but I'm sitting here and it's sort of happening and I'm not really invested in what happens. Maybe because I had read the book. But at some point when she's explaining to the boy that his conception of the world is completely wrong, and that actually the outside world is real and they're inside. So it's no longer everything, they're actually inside. And he doesn't believe her, and she gets angry. I think that's when it really grabbed me.
You're gonna love it. What? The world.
next film we're going to talk about is The Wolfpack, a documentary by Crystal Moselle. So, yeah, what did you think, guys?
Well, first of all, The Wolfpack, I mean, I think it deserves some explanation what it's really about.
Yes.
It's a documentary, first of all, which is quite different from The Room. And it's about these 7 kids who grew up in, similarly to Room, in this small apartment in New York, in Manhattan. The father had this idea that he had this idea of having 10 children and bringing up all of them with long hair sort of in this apartment and not letting them out.
Yeah.
So I think one year they didn't leave the apartment at all. And but then at age 15 one of them decides to leave for the first time. And I think crucially they've grown up learning about the world through watching movies.
What was really focused on by Crystal Moselle was this filmmaking aspect of their world, because throughout the film they're referencing Tarantino, Nolan, all these kind of, gangster films. I mean, their favourite film is The Godfather. And, how do you think that comes across within the movie?
A lot of the film is made up of footage of them shooting their own recreations of these films. So they reshoot Reservoir Dogs, they reshoot Pulp Fiction, they reshoot
Dark Knight.
Dark
That's my favourite.
Dark Knight, yeah. And so the idea of their sort of their free time, their sort of day-to-day lives being formed of sort of these recreations of films is interesting, because it's on the one hand like not necessarily original because you're reshooting something that someone already has, and yet their only response to the world is through creative outputs and sort of metaphor of film, which I think is a bit of a tension almost.
I mean, half the time we didn't know whether they were speaking lines from different films and referencing things, or whether they were just speaking. And I think for them, there was no line there, really. I mean, it's very hard to say at what point they would say their life was acting. They were brought up by the films almost, and you don't know. I mean, if you say that they're just acting and like referencing these films, then you may as well say that other people are just acting, like referencing their parents or referencing their like friends, rather than being themselves.
Something I'd like to bring up with both of you, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is that for you especially, I think Room brought up a lot of ideas about parenthood and raising children. And what do you think of the way, especially mothers, are portrayed in Room and The Wolfpack? Because in both films you have this woman who has gone through a great deal of what could reasonably be termed unconventional time in a single room and with very little of their own autonomy. How do you think it differs? Because, obviously one is a drama, one's a documentary, but then they deal with things very differently. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think there are some interesting parallels in how both mothers deal with specifically the sort of the natural world, because the main regret that the mother in The Wolfpack feels, she says like, the one thing I really wish is that they'd had sort of this field to run into, and then they could run into a wood and build a tree house, and so it's I think it's their response to the natural world more than the social world that she's really she feels sort of disappointed about. Whereas I think in Room, a lot of the trouble of the second half of Room is when Brie Larson doesn't feel that her son is reacting like socially, because he doesn't talk to the grandparents, he doesn't really engage.
The biggest question, I think, and it's very difficult, but which of the two films would you go and recommend if you could only see one?
I think I preferred Room, as in I think I would go and see Room again. Whether that means I would recommend seeing it over Wolfpack is sort of a bit up in the air. I think they make, we've chosen them together for a reason. I think they make really interesting sort of companion films.
I mean, definitely go see Room, but The Wolfpack is more of an idea, it's more of an impression you get, and you're sort of thinking about it, and sort of there's so many unanswered questions and unasked questions.
It's just so strange.
It's so strange.
Which is strange because the fictional film is the one that sort of brings out this kind of real sort of bond between mother and son, and it's the documentary where you're just thinking, this is so odd. This is so odd.
Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week where we'll be reviewing Trumbo and Rams. We'll see you all then. Bye.